First up, let's just quickly go through the buffs, like the food and the potions you're going to be using. So, if you are crafting your own gear, what I would reckon is that you get a turnip salad. This means that you're going to increase the crafting speed and also quality of your gear that you're making. So, for example, on this Novice Scholar's Cowl, the item power is 300 because the quality is normal. Whereas on these Journeyman's Mercenary Shoes, normal would be 500 item power, but I've got Outstanding and therefore it's 540. Making something like a turnip salad, if you have access to this, or just buying turnip salads on the marketplace, this is going to increase the quality of gear you're crafting. If you're not crafting your own gear and you're buying it on the marketplace, then don't worry. For the food, we're going to be using something like a goat stew is great, that increases combat damage for a long period of time, meaning obviously more damage. If you are a beginner and you're not sure about foods and potions, then don't worry. You can just do the rest of this guide without having to worry about that just yet. On the potions we're going to be using, however, I would recommend minor healing potions to start with, to get some health back, and maybe energy potions should you need them. At tier 4, however, we're going to be using minor poison potions so we can do damage over time to our enemies. Now then, let's start off by talking about the gear you're going to be using at tiers 2 and 3. Often the weapons we're using and the gear we're using is not going to be as specific until we get up to tier 4, so we may be changing this. So for the boot slot, I would recommend going with the Novice Soldier's Boots at tier 2. This is going to give you a rejuvenating spirit buff, increasing your movement speed and healing over 5 seconds, so a bit healing and a bit of speed there. Simply upgrade them at tier 3 to the Journeyman's version for the same buff but better, and then you can also get max load if you need it for carrying more items, or toughness to increase some of your defense. For the head slot, I'd recommend the Novice Scholar's Cowl. That's because it gives Force Field, which is a knockback, so you can interrupt your enemy spellcasting and also knock them back, as well as getting a passive increasing damage and healing. Same again at tier 3, upgrade it for a better version, and go with Aggression again. And don't forget, like I said, you may be swapping these out completely at tier 4, but just at tier 2 and 3, these are going to be the quickest and easiest items to get you going on your journey before we build out the whole build at tier 4. On the chest armor, it's Beginner's Mercenary Jacket, then a Novice's Mercenary Jacket, and then a Journeyman's Mercenary Jacket from tiers 2 to 3. This gives you the Inferno Shield ability, where you can basically put a shield on yourself, reducing damage taken, but also reflecting damage back at your attacker. We can also increase damage and healing and defense from the passive we get on this item. Before we move on to weapons and what we're going to be doing at tier 4 to build out the actual build itself, I just want to mention that the Novice's Bag is what you'll be starting off with your bag, and then if you can get tier 3 and 4 of these, just get the most expensive bag you can get. That's going to increase your carry capacity. Same for the cloak. Just get the most expensive one you can get, or the best tier, and that is going to increase energy regeneration. Now going on to what we're actually going to do at tier 4, and then the weapons, of course. This is going to be the Adept's Scholar Cowl on the head again. Pretty much using the same ability, but we now get an energy shield as well, so you can use the same one for your knockbacks, but also an energy shield where you get massive amounts of armor, magic resistance, and whenever you do take damage, you'll restore energy. Then for the chest piece, we're actually going to go for the Adept's Mercenary Jacket as well, so not much change there, but we do get a change, which is the Bloodlust ability. Basically, we restore health whenever we deal direct damage within the next 6 seconds, meaning we can get a massive amount of healing back when doing damage. Same again on the shoes, actually. Well, we're changing the shoes, but we're actually going for the Adept's Mercenary Shoes. The reason is we get refreshing sprint, where we can increase our movement speed and our rate of cooldown massively as well, with a lot of passives to choose from. These allow us to track down targets while also lowering our cooldowns, and if we need to, we can run away from a fight very quickly. Now for the piece de resistance of this Battleaxe build, the weapons. I would recommend starting off with, obviously, the Beginner's Broadsword. It's the only melee weapon we're going to get, and then go up to the Novice's Broadsword. This is where it gets a bit more interesting. Oh, and you'd also be using the Beginner's Shield as well, or Novice's Shield, not that it gives any abilities. So the Novice's Broadsword, we're going to be using Heroic Strike for single target, Heroic Cleave if you have multiple targets. Blade Cyclone is another AoE where you spin and do damage, and we also have Mighty Blow where we leap towards our target and interrupt whatever spell they're casting and deal physical damage as well. depending on the amount of heroic charges on us. Basically, when we use Heroic Strike, we get heroic charges, increasing our movement speed and auto-attack speed. So we want to use Heroic Strike a few times, getting those charges, and then use Mighty Blow to spend those charges, basically. Now, this is only taking us to the Tier 2. Obviously, this is a Battleaxe build, so at Tier 3, we transfer over to a Battleaxe and change over our abilities. We're going to be using, again, Rending Strike or Rending Spin. Again, this is going to change depending on single target or AoE. Rending Strike is a single target damage and it applies Rending Bleed, which is a bleed over 6 seconds on the target. If the maximum amount of stacks have been reached, the affected enemy's healing received is also reduced. The AoE version, Rending Spin, basically does the same-ish kind of thing, but on an AoE version. We have Adrenaline Boost on the next slot, and this ability is going to offer damage, attack speed, and movement speed increases to maximize the damage that we could do, and if our enemy is moving around, we can stick on them. Lastly, we get Blood Bandit, allowing us to deal additional damage at range depending on the amount of bleed stacks that we've got on them from the previous abilities that I've mentioned. This means that it's a two-part combo where the first cast dealing increased damage and the second is applying a direct heal to us as well. Lastly, we go up to Tier 4 for the Adept's Battleaxe, which is basically the same abilities we're going to be using, but at a higher level. Regarding upgrading your shield, you would then go to the Journeyman Shield at Tier 3, and then the Adept Shield at Tier 4, not really giving you much extra, apart from some extra defense on those. Using the abilities I've just mentioned, and the gear I've shown, this completes the Battleaxe beginner build for you. If you're not sure about any of the concepts, how to make them, buy them, etc., that you've seen here today, then I would recommend checking out my Ultimate Beginner Guide. And if you're looking for different kind of builds for weapons, then check out the playlist you see on screen now for those as well.